Hi guys, welcome to Bible Breakdown. We are doing 2 Samuel chapter 3 and 4. So there was this war between the house of David and the house of Saul, and essentially it was just to see who the people liked better, and David's house was getting stronger while Saul's was getting weaker. Then it mentions how David had 6 kids with 6 different women in the land of Hebron. So in this war between the house of David and the house of Saul, Abner was getting a lot of power in the house of Saul. So Saul had a concubine, her name was Rizpah, and it says that Ishbosheth questioned Abner, "Why did you sleep with my father's concubine?" This made Abner very upset. He starts coming crazy at Saul's son, and he's basically telling him, like, "I've been so loyal to you and your family. Who do you take me as? Like, why are you accusing me of this?" Then verse 9 says, "May God punish Abner and do so severely if I don't do for David what the Lord swore to him, to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and establish the throne of David over Israel and Judah from Dan to Beersheba." So Ishbosheth just got yelled at by Abner, and he is very scared at this point. He does not even say a word after all that. So Abner, he sends a messenger to David, and he says to him, "Make your covenant with me, and you can be certain I am on your side to turn all Israel over to you." So Abner was ready to give the kingdom to David after what Saul's son said to him. And David, he was all on board. Of course he was. But there was one exception. You guys remember the first wife that he had, the woman that was Saul's daughter, and she was so in love with David, and Saul was like trying to sabotage him, all that. He wants her to come back to him. So David sends a messenger to Ishbosheth, and he's like, "Bring me back this woman because I paid the foreskin of the Philistines for her. I want her back." Now, verse 15 and 16 is how they executed this, and I was just like, it's a little inconsiderate. They literally just like went, grabbed her. The husband followed, and he was crying, and then they told him to go back home, and he did. So it says, "So Ishbosheth sent someone to take her away from her husband. Her husband followed her, weeping all the way to Bahurim. Abner said to him, 'Go back.' So he went back." Like, imagine being so sad that your wife is getting taken from you and you have nothing that you can do about it, and then they just tell you to go home. Like, I can only imagine this man's feelings right now. So Abner goes to the elders and he tells them, "Do you guys remember when you wanted David to be your king so bad? Like, this is the time to do so." Then Abner goes to the Benjaminites and he goes to David and he tells him what the people of Israel agreed on, and then David decided to have a banquet. Then verse 21 says, "Abner said to David, 'Let me go, and I will gather all Israel to my lord the king. They will make a covenant with you, and you will reign over all you desire.' So David dismissed Abner, and he went in peace." Now it's about to take a little turn. So Joab, he went with David's soldiers to raid this place, and they come back with a whole bunch of supplies, a whole bunch of food, just like a lot of plunder. So as we know, Abner left already, and somebody told Joab what happened between David and Abner, how he came and then he talked to David and then he left. So now Joab comes crazy at David, and he's like, "Why would you do this? You know that man has ill intent." And in verse 25, he says, "You know that Abner, son of Ner, came to deceive you and to find out all your military activities and everything you're doing." Now Joab, he takes it upon himself to send a message to Abner so he can come back. So Abner comes back. David has no idea what's going on. So Abner comes back, and Joab, he takes him to like a private area to act like they're talking, but it's actually sabotage, because he goes and he stabs him in the stomach. And they say that that's revenge for him killing his brother. So David hears about this and he's like, "The people of my kingdom are safe because we have nothing to do with this. But the people that are attached to Joab and his family, it ain't gonna be good." Verse 29 says, "May it hang over Joab's head and his father's whole family, and may the house of Joab never be without someone who has a discharge or a skin disease, or a man who can only work a spindle, or someone who falls by the sword or starves." That was a mouthful, but that is a lot to put over Joab's family for killing Abner. A lot. Now, David tells Joab and all the people that was involved with Abner's death to rip off their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourn over Abner. So all the people are crying and mourning over Abner's death. And verse 34 is a song that David wrote specifically for Abner. It says, "Should Abner die as a fool dies, Your hands were not bound, your feet not placed in bronze shackles. You fell like one who falls victim to criminals. So now the people, they're trying to tell David to eat something because it's been a long day and he has not eaten. And David says, may God punish me and do so severely if I taste bread or anything else before sunset. So essentially, David was fasting, and all the people were so pleased with David. Like, everything that he did made them happy. And this also helped the people understand that David was not attached to the killing of Abner at all. Now, David, he goes to talk to the soldiers, and he's basically like, I hope you guys know the severity of Abner's death. Like, he was a great guy. And the last line of this chapter says, may the Lord repay the evildoer according to his evil. So right there, he was talking about Joab and everybody else that went to kill Abner. So that was chapter 3. Now, chapter 4, the first verse, it says, when Saul's son Ishbosheth heard that Abner had died in Hebron, he gave up and all Israel was dismayed. So Ishbosheth, he lost all his courage, and the people of Israel are just like, this is awkward. Like, what's going on? Then they go to mention the two men that were the leaders of the raiding party for Saul's people. Their names were Baanah and Rechab. Now verse 4 explains Jonathan's son, and it says, Saul's son Jonathan had a son whose feet were crippled. He was 5 years old when the report about Saul and Jonathan came. His nanny picked him up and fled, but as she was hurrying to flee, he fell and became lame. And they mention his name is Mephibosheth. I'm going with that. So the two raiders that I mentioned earlier, they're planning to go kill Ishbosheth. So the way they want to do it is by going to his house while he's taking a nap and essentially just stab him. Verse 7 says, they had entered the house while Ishbosheth was lying on his bed in his bedroom and stabbed and killed him. They removed his head, took it, and traveled. So they take the head to David, and they're basically like, look, David, look what we did for you. Be so happy that we killed your enemy. But David puts them in their place, and he's like, the person that came up to me and was like, I killed Saul, was looking for recognition, but I actually wasn't happy, and I killed him. Verse 11 says, how much more when wicked men kill a righteous man in his own house on his own bed? So now should I not require his blood from you and purge you from the earth? Then David, he got both of those men killed. And then it says, they cut off their hands and feet and hung their bodies by the pole in Hebron. But they took Ishbosheth's head and buried it in Abner's tomb in Hebron. So a lot just happened here, and a lot of people are dead. But David is about to be king of Israel, so woohoo! But that's all I have for y'all. I love y'all. God loves y'all more. Have a great night.